Let's talk about something we've all seen happen. You're at work, and accountability, it just seems to fade away over time. It's this weird, frustrating mystery. And today, we're going to dig into why that happens.
You know the feeling, right? You're sitting in a meeting, talking about the same exact issue that came up last month, and probably the month before that. You can't help but wonder, why does this keep happening over and over again?
And here's the crazy part. Everybody in the room agrees it's a problem. People are nodding, saying, "Yep, this is so frustrating." And yet, nothing changes. The problem just sticks around like it's got some kind of invisible shield.
This gets us to a feeling that is so common, so deeply human. It's that shared sense of frustration, like you're all on a hamster wheel together.
You hear someone say this, and you know it's not really about the meeting itself. That's the sound of a system that's forgotten how to actually solve problems. It's the feeling of being completely stuck in a loop with no way out.
So when we're stuck in this frustrating cycle, what's our first instinct? Well, we start looking for a person to blame, and that's what we can call the people problem myth.
This is just our default setting. Our gut says, oh, it must be because so-and-so isn't trying hard enough, or they have a bad attitude, or they just don't know what they're doing. But what's really going on, more often than not, is hidden one level deeper. The real cause is the system itself and the incentives it creates.
So to really get it, we have to look past the individuals and see the system they're all operating in. You can think of it like an invisible architecture that's quietly shaping every single decision and behavior in really powerful ways.
Okay, a huge piece of this architecture is something called psychological safety. This isn't just about being nice to each other. It's about whether people feel safe enough to take a risk, to ask what feels like a dumb question, to push back on a decision, or, and this is the big one, to admit they made a mistake. When that safety is low, our survival instincts just take over. Now let's add another powerful ingredient to the mix: distributed responsibility. This is what happens when a task belongs to literally everyone. What does that mean in practice? It belongs to no one. Accountability just turns into this fine mist. It's kind of everywhere and nowhere all at once, so you can never actually grab onto it.
When you put those two forces together, you get this predictable chain reaction. So step 1, some small, totally normal failure happens. Step 2, the system finds the person closest to the failure and punishes them. Step 3, everyone else who's watching learns a super important lesson. Whatever you do, hide your failures. And step 4, well, that's the tragedy. The system itself goes blind. It can't learn from mistakes anymore because it can't even see them.
And this isn't just a straight line from A to B. Oh no, it's a self-reinforcing loop. Every single time this cycle completes, it gets stronger. The cultural habits get deeper, and it becomes even harder to break.
It all kicks off with a totally rational human emotion: fear. The fear of getting blamed, of being the one who gets called out. That fear makes people pull back on transparency. They share a little less, they're more careful with their words, they cover their tracks.
So, of course, when there's no transparency, the real root of the problem gets totally buried. You can't see it anymore. It's hidden from the very people who might actually be able to fix it.
But here's the thing about hidden problems. They don't just go away. They fester. That little data error, that one customer complaint, that tiny crack in the process, you leave it alone and it quietly grows into something much, much bigger.
And then, boom. Eventually, the problem gets so big you can't hide it anymore, there's a major failure, and the consequences are bad. And what does a big failure set off? A massive hunt for someone to blame. And that, of course, just feeds right back into that initial fear, starting the whole cycle over again, but this time, it's even worse. This is where things get really maddening. Why is it that when we try to fix this, our good intentions so often blow up in our faces or even make things worse? Well, it's because the system is incredibly resilient.
Check this out. It shows how our typical solutions actually backfire. Like, management will say, we need more ownership. The intention is to get people to take more responsibility. But the actual effect? It just increases the fear of being blamed, so people take fewer risks. Or they'll add more steps, more process. The idea is to have more control, but all that really does is signal distrust, and that crushes psychological safety.
This really leaves us with a huge shift in perspective. Our first impulse is always to fix the system, right? Let's add a new rule, a new process. But what if the system doesn't need another fix? What if, before we do anything, we just need to understand it?
So I want to leave you with this final thought, which really gets to the heart of everything we've talked about. What if all these behaviors we see, the finger pointing, the lack of ownership, the vanishing accountability,
What if they aren't actually personal failings? What if they're the most logical, rational human response to the invisible structure we're all a part of?